What's the cheapest way to become a European citizen? In this video, I'm going to lay out different ways that you can become a European citizen and some of the pitfalls associated with each. Hey guys, I'm Andrew Henderson. If you want to learn more about how Nomad Capitalist helps 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors go where they're treated best with second residences, second passports, homes around the world, learn more at nomadcapitalist.com. And in this video, I want to talk about citizenship in Europe. It's something that a lot of folks aspire to, something that a lot of people are interested in see as the creme de la creme of the citizenship world. Now, I've personally said that I believe with the European Union in particular, there are some warning signs coming up. If you are a high net worth individual, if you're a person who has a high income, if you want to protect your privacy, your personal freedoms, you believe in liberty, Europe may or may not be the best place for you. I think there are some great places, particularly Eastern and Southeastern Europe, the Caucasus. We've talked about Georgia and Montenegro and Serbia and Armenia and places like that. So that's a topic for another video. But in this video, I'm going to talk about how you can go about doing it and start with this because we're talking about the cheapest ways to do it. Obviously, what's cheap for one man is not cheap for another. And let me give you an example. Recently had a guy come to me and saying, his goal is to get a Tier A European citizenship. Now, we talk about Tier A passports as you can go to the United States visa-free. Obviously, if it's a European Union passport, you can travel all around the European Union as well. And this is a guy who has a multi-million-dollar income. He's got a multi-million-dollar net worth. He's traveling a lot. He doesn't have the time or desire to settle down in one place. And so not only would his business not be able to continue if he were required to spend 6 months or 9 months or 10 months a year in a certain European country, he needs to be traveling to all the different continents of the world. But not only that, but if he were to do that and spend the time in a European country, his multi-million-dollar income would be taxed. He'd have a minimum $1 million tax bill that he wouldn't have if he based himself in a tax-friendly country that we often talk about. And so, if we just take the example of a standard European Union, kind of faster citizenship that takes 5 years through naturalization, it would cost him $5 million. It would probably cost him a lot more than that because the cost to his business of being tethered to one place for, let's just say, a minimum of 6 months a year to meet naturalization requirements would be untenable, okay? And so that's why I think for a lot of people, what's cheaper is actually to make some kind of investment that loosens the physical presence requirements, eliminates the requirement to pay tax in the European country, and just gets you the passport. Sometimes it's in a matter of a number of months. Other times, it might just be a regular naturalization process, but without the tax or the physical presence requirements, okay? So, strictly speaking, the cheapest way to become a European citizen, in most cases, is going to be through descent. If you have a grandparent, parent, great-grandparent in some countries who has or had citizenship in that country, you can often go and apply. Now, the most expensive part of this is not the actual application, which in some countries is like 50 euros. So that's pretty cheap. There are always caveats with these programs. I've seen some people miss it by this much. I've seen 1 or 2 people who everything on paper qualified, but then they got rejected. And so the most expensive part of citizenship by descent, citizenship through your family tree, is having someone review the documents. We're always doing this for folks here on our strategy team. Clients come in, hey, it looks like they may be qualified for this citizenship. We've got to go and check all the dates. We've got to go and make sure that nothing was broken in the chain. There's no weird requirements. That might cost some money, but the actual filing is pretty cheap. The second cheapest way to do it would be through naturalization that I mentioned, where depending on the European country, you hire an attorney. Some cases you can even do it yourself. And you set yourself up with a residence permit in a certain country. That could be through a job. There are freelance permits. If you have rather nominal incomes, some European countries will give you a freelance visa or like a self-sufficiency visa. And you can use those. Again, those will often get you into the tax net, and they'll often require you to be there. But if you're just looking to live in a European country, you don't mind the taxes, and you have 5, 7, 10 years to wait, then you can do that approach. It's not going to cost you a lot to set it up. Again, as long as you're not factoring in, all the costs of higher taxes and being stuck in one place. For some people, those things are perfectly fine. For a lot of the 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs that we're talking to, the lifestyle and tax costs are just too high. So that's where citizenship by investment and fast-track naturalization comes in. There are a couple citizenship by investment countries in Europe. They seem to change their requirements more or come on and offline more than other citizenship by investment programs you would find in the Caribbean or the South Pacific, for example. Especially in the European Union, which does not really like citizenship by investment programs. There is certainly a, if not hate the rich, distrust the rich sentiment in the European Union that says, hey, no one should be allowed to cut the line. No one should be able to get into our community without paying a lot of taxes. Those are our values. So citizenship by investment is available in Malta. It's a 650,000 euro donation. You have to own or rent a house for 5 years. You also have to put some money into government bonds or some kind of Maltese securities. So that is the most expensive sunk cost in Europe. The next most expensive sunk cost probably would be in Cyprus, which requires 2 million euro real estate investment, 500,000 of which must be kept for the rest of your life. It's kind of a weird component to that. Plus, they recently added a 150,000 euro donation. For 150,000 euro donation, you could go to pretty much any of the 5 Caribbean citizenship programs and get a passport in a matter of months without the 2 million euro real estate investment. And obviously the challenge is, this is a challenge that we help people with here with our network of real estate agents, but most times you're going to go and you're going to try and find real estate very quickly, and you're going to end up with 1.4 million euros in real estate that you pay 2 million euros for, because that's kind of what the program is there for. It's designed to prop up and promote developers. Nothing wrong with that, but you're oftentimes not going to be able to resell your real estate for what you paid for it. It's something that I really have made a push in our team to have a full-time real estate person helping people avoid that as best as possible. Outside of the European Union, Moldova has a program that's been suspended. That was in the low 6 figures. Montenegro has a program, 100,000 euro donation, plus 250,000 euro real estate investment. I love Montenegro. I have a home in Montenegro. I find the real estate investments at the 250,000 euro level expensive. They're in the north of the country. They're trying to develop that part of the country. It is nice. I've been up there. If you'd like to ski, it's a nice alternative to some other parts of Europe. If you want to buy on the coast, it's going to be 450,000 euros, but you're going to be buying government-approved real estate, and you're not going to be able to sell that for what you paid for it. So you've got a bigger sunk cost than just the donation. Okay. So, and if you want to count Turkey as being part of Europe, Istanbul certainly is, then 250,000 euros in real estate. Again, the way that it's set up, it's designed to make you overpay. We've helped a couple people do that and I think get pretty good deals, because there are some incredible deals in Istanbul right now. Certainly most people wouldn't think of Turkey as a European passport, but that is probably the cheapest citizenship by investment option, because you can probably get most of your money out. There aren't too many government fees. And if we're finding properties for someone, they're probably going to be pretty close to par, whereas in Montenegro and Cyprus, for example, you're probably going to lose a bit of money. So those are options where you don't have to live there, you don't have to pay tax there, you have the option to live there. There may even be tax incentives in some cases in some of those countries. Fast-track naturalization is the last one. You may have heard, if you've looked around at some of the citizenship by investment, some folks talk about Austria, for example, as having a program. I made a video on this, and so I won't go into it in too much detail here. But basically, there are some countries in Europe where if you have a big net worth and you have a business acumen, or you have a philanthropic history, or anything like that, you can go and you can make a donation, or you can start a big business. We're not talking about hiring one person and putting $5,000 in the bank. We're talking big numbers. But if you have the capability to do that, I had a gentleman who I was working with, sold a business for well into the 9 figures, wanted to start his next business. He can go and put $5 million in a company and hire some people. And so there are countries in Europe that will grant you citizenship sometimes. You want to make sure it's above board. As I always say, we're not talking about where you go to the Moldova-Romania border and you're paying someone 1,000 euros to forge some paperwork for you. Everything must be above board. And these programs are going to be expensive. So the point about cheapest citizenship in Europe is, if you're not worried about taxes, if you're not worried about being able to travel the world at a whim, you have ancestry, you have naturalization, you could just go and live there. But for the 7 and 8 figure globally mobile entrepreneurs and investors, you probably want to focus on one of these other two options. How do I create value in a country? And you want to understand that in Europe, you're going to pay a premium. As I always say, every country is a brand name. Europe as a continent has a brand name. The European Union has an even better and stronger brand name. And that's why they charge more. You are going to pay more for a certain patina, for a certain gravitas, as one person told me. If that's worth it to you because you want this, so-called best passport, that's how to go about doing it. Of course, I wouldn't shut out other options. It really depends on what your goals are. If they don't involve living in Europe, you may be able to do something cheaper somewhere else. But when it comes to European passports, that's the thought process that I would take. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.